Warriors of the East, bring up your candidate. Bring up your candidate. Bring your candidate to the podium as we welcome Ian Patches Liburd.
Wake in the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceive that I will achieve, you better believe, because I'll do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, to the Lord I kneel and pray.
Members and friends of the People's Action Movement, brothers and sisters, comrades, my fellow citizens, my fellow constituents, and my fellow warriors from the East, a very pleasant night to one and all. Muy buenas noches a mis hermanos y hermanas de la República Dominicana, también de Cuba y Venezuela. Yo quiero repetir que con un gobierno nacional de unidad no será más problemas de inmigración, pero será la seguridad con trabajos, y ustedes pueden quedarse aquí en Santo Cristóbal y Nieves por toda la vida. Bonsoir aussi à tout le monde qui parle français, parce que j'entends qu'il y a personne ici d'Haïti. Mais oui, d'Haïti. Dando gracias a mi Dios. I give thanks to Almighty God for blessing me with the health and the strength that I need to sustain me throughout this entire election campaign. I thank God for blessing me with the wisdom and the education that has whetted my appetite to serve my community and by extension my country. Finally, I thank Almighty God for blessing me with the courage to stand up every time and any time in this country and to speak the truth. And even if I have to stand alone, I will speak the truth. You know, members and friends, brothers and sisters, comrades, and my fellow warriors, we lost a warrior today, the person of Sonia Huggins. And I know it's late, but I want to ask you to just bow in reverence in 1 minute silence in memory of the passing of Sister Sonia. Thank you very much, my brothers and sisters. And I want to once again extend my profound condolences to her mother, Violet, her entire family, just to remind them that death is a process, and we all will endure that process at some time. I want also, since this may be my only opportunity, to wish in advance a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the house tonight. And I want to inform you, I haven't spoken with my executive, but I want to inform you that we will recognize at least 3 mothers within the East Basseterre constituency come Sunday. This is my first opportunity to address you, my fellow constituents, since it was officially announced, I was officially announced as your candidate to contest the upcoming general elections. For that reason, I must thank my fellow constituents, and in the process, I do wish to say that I'm extremely honored to be given the opportunity to serve this great party called the People's Action Movement, especially in a unity construct in the proposed government of national unity. I am deeply honored and I'm deeply humbled by the confidence you have reposed in me as someone who is capable and worthy enough to be selected as a candidate of this great party to represent our great constituency in East Basseterre. As someone who was born in this constituency, as someone who was raised in this constituency, and has lived all my life in this constituency, when I speak, I will speak with authority. As one who has lived through the good times and the bad times, and as Jimmy Cliff sang, who feels it, knows it. So I feel it, and I know it. When I speak about East Basseterre, I will speak with authority. Members and friends, brothers and sisters, comrades, my fellow constituents, while I do not like to blow my own trumpet, for those who are not familiar, a man called Ian Patches Liburd, Eugene spoke to Ian Patches Glassford. Eugene wanted to boast that he know me a long time. But really and truly, if you watch my birth certificate, you see father, you see Dash. You know Dash used to drive the taxi? You're not father. But thanks to Sir Kennedy Simmons, he repealed the Basseterre Act, and every single one born today can miss their path. But as a young professional in 1971, I was employed by a company called DeLille Walwyn and Company. And I, as a young man, a young professional, started at the bottom rung of the ladder. And I climbed every step of that ladder up to the position of management. Over a period of 13 and a half years at that company. And I don't want to be boastful. Since 1977, Ian Patches Liburd, has never applied for a job in this country. In 1990, I was headhunted by SL Hosford and Company Limited. who recruited me as manager of shipping in the SL Hosford group of companies. Over that period, I became a director of the St. Kitts Shipping Association. I went on further. I became a council member and director of the Caribbean Shipping Association. I was headhunted further because one Sunday afternoon in 1995, after the elections, Asim Martin came banging on my door and he said to me that the cabinet had an emergency session and a decision was taken to dismiss the general manager, Sidney Osborne, under some pretext that was found or some importation of a firearm. Asim went on to state that the Prime Minister had to travel the same Sunday, but he was sent just to inform me that the cabinet was requesting that I report to the authority the next day. My response was I can't even repeat it. It was a 7-letter expletive with "boy, you're crazy." The next day, I was called by Timothy Harris, who was acting Minister of Finance, and he repeated what Asim said about the cabinet decision. And I reiterated my position to Tim, and Tim's response matches, it's a matter of national security. Well, I said to Tim, if it was a matter of national security, then write to my boss, write to my chairman. They never did. Negotiations ensued for several months, and after being convinced by Douglas that it was a question of public service, I then decided to go into the ports. Now, honestly speaking, I never liked the way I left Hosford in terms of the notice I gave them. But that's for another occasion. After several years of being micromanaged by a chairman in the port called Peter Jenkins, our relationship became sour. My efforts to improve the security at the ports were frustrated. And more so, when I bluntly refused to sign dismissal letters for 35 employees of the port. Imagine Peter Jenkins preparing some letters and sending them for my signature. And I said no, because the only basis for their dismissal was because they were PAM. Peter Jenkins said to me, the big man, meaning Douglas, who was the minister responsible for the ports, had approved the dismissals. And my position was, let the big man sign them letters. That's why every letter was signed by Peter Jenkins, and they were delivered in the night. How could I put my signature on a letter to dismiss my friend Tone? Toster, where's Toster? Here? If there were 4 longshoremen who worked every vessel, were always present and on time, Tone Richard was one of them. Tone and I swam down Newton Bay together. We played football for Newton together. How could I sign a letter to dismiss Tone and the other 34 employees? Only thing they did wrong was they supported Ham. You remember that? You remember Miss Eddie? You remember Gatta? All of them. It's a woman I see from McKnight. Every time I see her, although it's almost 12 years, I feel bad. I'm cleaning her from the airport. So when they asked why Peter Jenkins, the chairman, signed those letters, it's because I damn well refused to sign them. The second thing I want to bring to you was the question: management experienced a lot of pilferage, a lot of thieving at the port. I remember Little Switzerland. How many of you remember Little Switzerland? They thieved 19 boxes of watches and crystal glass from the port. So I, as the manager, took a decision to arrest that thieving at the port. Because the port was a laissez-faire institution, you know. You could have walked in as you like. You go on the port and you fish. You fish in the night. So I decided that the first thing I will do, I will stop the fishing at the port. Whether you're Coast Guard or whoever, I don't want no more fishing at the port. But who tell me to do that? Peter Douglas, the brother of Desmond Douglas, he came to the port, and obviously the security tell him, the GM say, no fishing on the port. He said, you don't know who I am? He said, nobody can stop me. And I know them so good, I prepared myself for them. I went and I detailed the security log. And I was shocked when I read the log. Peter Douglas come into the port at 5 in the afternoon. He left at 10 in the night. Some days he come at 10 in the night and he leave at 2 in the morning. Some days he'll come at 2 o'clock in the morning. Imagine that. I had a copy still. I'm going to show it to you after the night. He come at 2 o'clock in the morning and he left 5 o'clock in the morning. Imagine a man leaving a nice, pretty good looking wife in a bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. Fish. He had to be catching special fish. Do you believe that Peter Douglas was fishing alone? Do you believe Peter Douglas went to catch fish alone? So what he went for? Who says son of me? Members and friends, brothers and sisters, comrades, these are some of the challenges I had to deal at the Port Authority. And I dealt with them without fear or without favor. I dealt with them whether you're Pam or you're Labour. I dealt with them. And to date, I, Ian Patches, is the longest serving general manager at the port. I am. I served for 4 years and I decided to move on. Nobody started and served so long. CARICOM had mandated that all of its members should establish a Department of Maritime Affairs. I was the focal point for St. Kitts and Nevis on maritime affairs. CARICOM decided we must improve maritime safety and maritime security. The Department of Maritime Affairs in St. Kitts was established under my watch. And I decided it was time to advance my academic career, and I successfully completed a master's degree in business administration with distinction at one of the best management schools in the world, the University of Bradford Management School. Upon my return, I established the Ministry of Transport, then headed that ministry with Public Works, Utilities and Posts, and served as PS and as Director of Maritime Affairs at the same time. I get the extra salary. Linda Adams was a PS, acting as a PS, and she got 2 salaries. I didn't want another salary either. But some other time, I will tell you about the minister, Halvor Hendrickson. But for now, let's call him the 15% minister. You got that? When you see him, to the 15% minister. I will also tell you about the incompetent and unscrupulous Asim Martin. I will spend no time on Cedric Martin, call him Cedric Liburd, the Greenville minister, or the Bassett agreement you talk about. Imagine Asim Martin and Denzel Douglas are trying to question my character. Just because I exposed them. Could you imagine that? Every time Douglas went to visit his departed comrade Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, he took Asim. I understand from Asim that Libya paid to build that stupid pavilion in the complex. I have Haggard. Gaddafi, it was reported, paid only in cash. And Asim must come to this constituency and tell us, did you get cash from Gaddafi? And how much cash, Asim? But through it all, brothers and sisters, I want to implore you, do not allow Asim Martin and Denzel Douglas to distract you. They're going to bring you music. They're going to bring you lies. But we can't pay our electricity bills. Lindsay just tell you, you can't buy food to eat. We can't even pay a mortgage under the Denzel Douglas administration. But our young people cannot find jobs. But I can assure you that we are going to introduce policies in a government of national unity that will educate our youths according to their aptitudes and their skills. We will also introduce policies to ensure that our senior citizens are not afraid to grow old. In due course, members and friends, brothers and sisters, comrades, and my fellow constituents, I will outline the programs we have in mind for East Basseterre. And I can assure you that these programs are developmental focus. We're going to start from East Park Range, come to Wellington Road, to the pasture. Just here at Pond Extension, we cleaned children play area. I didn't have to go in government to do that. I got the community together and I thank the community. And we adopted that space and we will soon get the slings and the swing in order. Then we go into Punch Pasture and we can do something there as well. Then to Frigate Bay and Borderer. But things are going to come. We will improve the business climate in East Basseterre by introducing steps to lower the cost of doing business. We will finance the support of new and existing businesses so that they can compete or can be more competitive. So, my brothers and sisters, don't be distracted by the lies of a man called what? Christopher?
Plastic lion, Christopher Colombo, Caesar.
It ain't Christopher, we got to get it up to date. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, let me hear you. Let me hear you. Yeah? Yes. You know, it's a biblical story of a man called Barabbas. And when I listened to Douglas the other day, he reminded me of a biblical story, which I believe in this era still has some special social significances. Because in our midst today is this man called Denzel Douglas. Is twice as bad as Barabbas. Matthew's gospel refers to Barabbas as a notorious prisoner. Mark and Luke further refers to Barabbas as one involved in a riot. I know who involved in a riot.
I do not want to incite anybody. You know I don't want to incite you, you know. You know I'm capable of doing that. You remember in 1993. You know I am capable of doing that, you know. Tell them Douglas is capable. I can incite, you know.
The Bible refers to the book of Barabbas, one who involved in riot. John 18:40 refers to Barabbas as a bandit. The three gospels rather state that there was a custom at Passover during which the Roman government released a prisoner whom the crowd would choose. When asked by Pontius Pilate, my friend in the crowd would say Pontius Pilate, who should be freed from Roman custody, the crowd shouted, "Give us Barabbas! Give us Barabbas!" For that reason, Barabbas was freed and Jesus Christ was crucified. I am not no Jesus Christ. And brothers and sisters, although Douglas and his multitude tried to crucify me, they have made so many insidious attempts at my personal destruction. I am not no Jesus Christ. Neither am I Barabbas, who according to the biblical account was a liar, a scamp, murderer. But Denzel Douglas, as I said, is twice as bad as Barabbas. He's a court-certified liar. Justice Francis Bell referred to him as a stranger to the truth. I have an article here from the Jamaica Observer, editorial which says, Caribbean political leaders are often deceptive. A recent example being Prime Minister Denzel Douglas of St. Kitts. This is from Jamaica. The man lie too bad. Douglas continues to lie in order to stay in power in this country. Douglas has committed murder on business. He has killed the entrepreneurial spirit of small business in this country. He has killed the heart and soul of this country. And lastly, continues to steal the future of our young people and the generations to come. My fellow citizens, my fellow constituents, brothers and sisters, comrades, this is not the time for chances. This is time for a new beginning. As Lindsay said, a vote for Asim is a vote for Douglas. In closing, members and friends, I believe it would be remiss of me, since I have this opportunity, if I did not apologize to every constituent of East Basseterre, and by extension, the entire country, helping to make ASIM. I did sing Impossible Dream at his launch. He said I sang Jesus Loves Me. I sang Impossible Dream at his launch. I wrote some of the things he said. But I would have never dreamt that ASIM would have neglected East Basseterre the way he continues to do. I thought that we shared the same philosophy about health and about housing, but time has proven me wrong, and I want to say to you, I am sorry. I wrote his speech, as I said. That speech about fly them out, I went to him because I had to fly out my son in 1994. Today, after 18 years on the labor, we fly out Douglas and we fly out Kiati. Many of you, my fellow constituents, have applied to NHC for a low-income house. And after 18 years, you have been told that your application is on file. It was impossible to dream that ASIM just wanted to get into public office for his private gain. You can't get a piece of land or a house because they think you are Pam. But ask ASIM when he comes to see you, if he comes. Ask ASIM how many properties you own in 1995 and ask him how many properties you own now. Up to 3 weeks ago, ASIM tried to buy 2 old houses from a man down in Newtown for cash. Cash. I will tell you the man who he is. I have to talk to him first so I could call his name. So where is ASIM getting all his cash from? Where are you getting all his cash from? If that is why for the last 18 years, or is that why for the last 18 years, ASIM has failed to support integrity in public life legislation? So, my fellow constituents, ask yourselves the questions. Who will be more faithful to you, ASIM or Patches? Who will be a better servant, ASIM or Patches? Every time you see ASIM in the constituency, you know that an election is nigh. Then he gets elected. And after he gets elected, he drives past from Frigibe, cross the bypass road into the office, go and go hide. Again, I say I am sorry for helping ASIM or helping to put ASIM in office. But I ask you to help me